Now let me introduce you to the 8 standards for mathematical practice. I'm going to read the idea of what each one of the standards is about and then kind of give you a little bit more description of it. So the first standard is make sense of problems and persevere in solving them. This from a student perspective is how do I start this problem? What steps make sense to go through to get to the solution? The second standard is reason abstractly and quantitatively. In other words, go from the problem to actually writing and relating values to aid in solving the problem. Standard 3 is construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. Now, this means that a student needs to be able to organize their work that is mathematically correct and make sense in context to the problem. Standard 4 is model with mathematics, and it's how the mathematical skills we learn relate to a real world problem or the situation we find ourselves in as we work through a question. Standard 5 is use appropriate tools strategically. In other words, students need to consider all tools available and decide on a course of action to solve. So maybe, is it appropriate to use a graphing calculator? Is there a website that might tell me more information about the topic that I'm trying to solve? Etc. So anything else that they can bring to the forefront, any tool that they can bring in their repertoire. Standard 6 is attend to precision. Now this means things like units of measure, the symbols used throughout the problem, and labeling their work as we go. That way anybody who looks at the work to solve the problem will understand exactly the process the student went through. Standard 7 is look for and make use of structure. Now that means the student needs to look for patterns throughout a problem to find the structure and to shift perspective as needed throughout the solution process. We've all tried to solve problems and we go through and we go, am I really doing exactly what the question asked me to do? So as I go through a problem and realize, hey, there's a better way to do this. Well, this standard says a mathematically proficient student should be able to do just that. Standard 8 says look for and express regularity in repeated reasoning. In other words, students should look for general methods and for shortcuts as they work through a problem. Now, how do these all relate? Well, as we solve problems, you're going to notice that Standard 1 and Standard 6, they're overarching themes all the way through. Students got to make sense of the problems and they always need to attend to precision. In other words, make sure that everything is labeled, everything has units, and everything makes sense. Now, the first thing we need to do as we solve a problem is Standard 2 and Standard 3. Now, both of these relate back to reasoning and explaining. So starting the problem and then explaining through, getting going with it, using our values that are mentioned in the problem to solve. The next thing we will do is Standard 4 and Standard 5. Now these are all about modeling and using our tools. So after we get our basic idea of what the problem is about, now we're setting up a plan to solve it. Standard 7 and Standard 8, those are about looking for structure and generalizing. In other words, we realize what the question is asking us, we get all of our information together and we get a plan together, and then we actually solve. That's what the standards are all about. So the standards are a balanced combination of both the procedure and the understanding of the problem. Teachers and students alike must be flexible in how to solve a problem, and you got to realize there are many ways to do this. So instead of like in the past where we've led students down a road and said, okay, we're only going to do this today, this is much broader. We've got to give our students control of their education. In other words, we give them a problem to solve and we let them work it, use all their mathematical tools available. The other thing hopefully you notice is that all the standards of mathematical practice are used to solve any problem in the mathematical content. So we always go through all 8 of these standards through the solution process, through understanding the problem, through setting up a plan to solve the problem, and through the actual solution of the problem.
Liz, can you share what you and your partner discussed? What is important from that first sentence?
Draw a number line.
Okay.
Well, I have create, fill, with a number line, and plot, and then we circle the number
Does anyone have anything else they want to add to that? Okay, let's look at that second sentence. And let's read that together, starting with graph. Get ready. Graph each point and its opposite on the number line. Discuss with your partner what is important from the second sentence. Okay, attention back up here in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Can I have Sylvia tell me what you and your partner discussed? What is important from that second sentence?
We underline graph each point. Opposite on the number line.
Okay. Anyone want to share anything different?
I just circled opposite just because that, I just know my students, I teach 6th grade, and they would just graph the points and they would miss opposite unless you.
Okay, so make that stand out to them. Good. Okay, and the last one there. Let's read that together, starting with explain. Get ready? Explain how you found the opposite of each point. Discuss with your partner what is important from that last sentence there. Okay, attention back up here in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Can I have Teresa share out what you and your partner discussed? What is important?
Everything is important.
Everything, okay? Explain how you found the opposite of each point.
I think explain is one of the biggest words that should be circled because the kids are asking to
But I
explain.
thought we said circle with some numbers.
Oh, that's up to you. Whatever you want to discuss with your
I
students.
have them box
You
it.
could box it, just highlight that word.
I like boxing it because if you box it, it's got to be the most important because you're not going to survive the punch if you don't box it.
Excellent. Yes, whatever you decide in your class, yes. Or you could just highlight just that word. Whatever you decide in your class.
You fall down. Yes.
Okay, now that we've read through that,
Then knock it out.
now we're going to use that information to draw. And this is hard to see up here, but it is in your packet. And here is a number line. Now, is there... Okay, can I have your attention up here in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Does anyone want to share what you and your group came up with for one of your performance task questions? When you come up,
Should we just say that we're going to have to, no matter where we are, teach surface area?
okay. And what grade? 4th grade. Okay, we have an example from the 4th grade SBAC performance task.
And so the first part of it asked what was the cost of all the tickets.